This is the final battle, and today we're going to be exploring some of the whys in black history. Why this? Why that? Why them? Why us?
The press, stop it. Look at Putin. Putin is showing who the Negroes are. When you go into Russia, they never took our murals down. These murals are from the Black Russian Archives Church that you can see when you go to YouTube. Putin was showing the world who we are. He wanted everybody to see it. But if you notice, the American cameras, they took the camera and they dropped it. When you go through all of Europe, all of France, all of Germany, all of Italy, all of Russia, all of the European nations and the Americas, you're going to find out something. That this so-called Negroes or Moors only mean that you're black. Moors ran everything, and a lot of these Moors were Jews. Some were Sephardic Jews, and some of them were other type of Jews. But these Jews or Israelites ran what you would call the European nations. That's why when you go into Germany, they find bodies that are thousands of years old, and these bodies are so-called Moors. And when they go into Britain, Britain just means sons of Isaac. That's exactly what it means. Britain, when you get a lot of these names as Johnson, McKeever and McDowell, you would think that these names were actually European. But you got to remember, these people were in the Caucasus Mountains. They didn't even speak English. These so-called Negroes and Moors taught them English, and when they came later in the 19th century, they basically took over all of Britain, France, Germany from the 11th century. After the 19th century, they took over everything. And what they did, they came through and they whitewashed everything. So I'm showing you pictures of the ancient nobles here right now as we speak. As a matter of fact, there's a picture here of the painting by Michelangelo, and it's in the Sistine Chapel, and it's of Joseph and Jacob. Here's another one of Moors fighting what they call wild men. And here's a picture of Robert Pufus by Jean Farkas, or king. He was a king in Britain. And here are coats of arms. These are different nations of Britain, of different people who are Moors. Now, look here, the Holy Roman Emperor, Charles V. Isn't this something, folks? But get this. Look at what we call Columbus. He was a Sephardic Jew. That's why he had to come here, because no one else could.
It's just a case of keeping things hidden from you and keeping all the facts to themselves. And this is a fact that they know, and they'll tell you.
If you're one of those people that you got problem with black people or whatever, you better shut your mouth. Because they're God's people. You better hear what I'm saying to you. You better shut your white mouth.
So basically, if you read in the Bible and you white and you know the truth and you want to live by the truth, these are the facts that you come to the conclusion.
These are God's people. And I know that there's wicked in white races and wicked in black races and all that. I'm not justifying none of that stuff. I'm just saying God knows what happened to the black race. He knows how they wound up over here. And God is going to reimburse the black people for all their trouble and all their labor.
Getty Museum out here in Los Angeles, there is a painting, an illustration from the 1400s, Moses defeating the Moors. And in the illustration, you see African people who are the Moors in Europe ruling. They're in a castle and they're battling white Europeans. And the reason why they named the painting Moses defeating the Moors is because the Europeans at the time, when they were going through the Inquisition, when they were going through the Reconquista, when they were getting the Africans called the Moors out of Europe, they had a religious undertone. And what they would do, they would draw stories from the Bible and tie that into their current struggle. And that's one of the things that gave them so much momentum. There was a religious undertone to it.
The Africans in Europe originally came out of the Moors, came out of
So
North.
in 70 AD, we was exiled from Jerusalem, and Jerusalem was considered North Africa, and we migrated up into Africa, and then as it got into the 1900s, a lot of us went back to Israel but Israel was in ruins. So it wasn't until, I guess, about 1950 when they did the Balfour Declaration, and then they sent the Ashkenazis from Germany. They sent the Ashkenazi. You could check not from Germany and from Europe. It's a place called Ashkenazi. This is where the modern day people that live in Israel come from today. So those are not actual Jews. Those are people that practice Judaism and claim the Jewish culture. And that's a fact. Now let's take a look at how Israel looked at before the Rothschilds and the European Union signed the Balfour Declaration, and they when they promised to give the Jews the land if they get America into the war.
People of the world, take a look at what Jerusalem looked like in 1925. No slave masters, no shackles, no chains. This is what they do not want you to see. Black people, the children of the sun, God's chosen people, the rightful inhabitants of Jerusalem. In 1925.
So after World War II ended, it was a massive migration of Jewish people from all over the world into Israel, Palestine, and not from there. You could go look at their hometown, like I mentioned earlier. It's in Europe. It's called Ashkenazi. And then you can go into the Bible and see that the Ashkenazis are sons of Homers. So now, basically, they wage war. You understand what I mean? I think someone like another neighboring country went to war with them, but basically they expelled and fell short of a Holocaust of the Negro. Basically, they exterminated us and ran us out of Israel back into Africa, and that's why you got the Israeli state that you have today. Make sure you drop a comment, like, subscribe. This is The Final Battle.